Hey everyone, this is Dom Segalas, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Cubase, from setting up your audio interface to creating a full beat. By the end, you'll be able to dive in and start making your own music. Let's jump right in. The first thing that greets you when you launch Cubase is the Steinberg Hub. And the Steinberg Hub contains a lot of useful information and resources to get you started. To begin with, we have the news section right here. And here you can find really useful resources if you want to step up your Cubase game. And you can also be notified if there's an update for your Cubase version. Next, we have the project section. And here you can find many different templates to get you started. From recording, scoring, production, and mastering. You can see your recent Cubase projects, and if you go to more, you can also load up an empty project. Also, if you've saved your own templates, they're going to appear right here, as they do in my case. But we also have some great starting points, and this is also something that we're going to utilize on this video. Before I start loading any templates though, I want to start with an empty project. So I'm going to go to more and select empty. The next thing you want to do is either use a default location. If you choose this option, you can set up a folder on your hard drive and you can start storing your Cubase projects right there. All you need to do is just name the project, and then Cubase is going to create the folder for you. If you choose prompt for project location, then you have to create the folder yourself. In this case, I'm going to use the default location and I'm going to name it Getting Started. And I'm going to hit create. And here we have an empty Cubase project. One of the things that many people find challenging when they're working with DAWs is setting up their audio interface so that they can get some sound out of their speakers or their headphones. Let me show you how you can do this. It's very easy to set this up in Cubase. The first thing you need to do is go to Studio, go to Studio Setup, and now what we want to do is we want to select the audio interface that we have. In my case, I have the Steinberg IXO interface. I'm going to select it right here in the drop-down menu. And then another thing that you might want to do is set up your buffer size. This will ensure that you won't have any latency when you hit a key on your MIDI keyboard until the sound comes out of your speaker. In order to do this, we have to select the audio interface that we're using, go to Control Panel, and then set up our buffer size. A good starting point would be 128 up to 384 samples. The next thing we want to set up is the audio connections. This will allow us to get sound into Cubase when we're recording and sound coming out of Cubase, out of the speakers and our headphones. And in order to do this, we go to Studio, Audio Connections. And in this case, we need to make sure that we have our input selected. Make sure that I select the available inputs from my audio interface. We can also set up our outputs, and this is where the sound from Cubase is going to go to. In this case, I'm going to select the output of my audio interface. But if you have Cubase Pro, the best way would be to use Control Room. You can activate Control Room right here, and then you can set the output of your audio interface to one of the monitor outputs. In this case, you want to leave the outputs in the Outputs tab disconnected. Once you've done this, you're good to go. You should be able to record and you should be able to hear sound coming out of Cubase. The first thing you will want to do is start creating some tracks. All you need to do is go here to this plus symbol and click on it, and now you can create any one of these tracks. So audio, instrument, sampler, drum, and so on and so forth. In this case, I'm going to go for an instrument. I can click on this drop-down menu and I can search. I'm going to go for Retrolog, and I'm going to add this track. And now I can record enable this instrument and start playing. We've already created an instrument track, and now if I want to record some MIDI playing on my keyboard, all I need to do is click this record enable button and then hit record. And as you can see, we've just recorded our first MIDI notes. Now, if you want to record a microphone or you want to record your guitar, all you want to do is click on Add Track and create an audio track. Now, let's talk about the Cubase templates. The Cubase templates are great starting points to ignite your inspiration. So, as you can see, we have classic house, lo-fi hip-hop, neo-soul, songwriter, symphonic orchestra templates, trap. Let's go and load up the lo-fi hip-hop. And here we go. Here's our starting point. As you can see, Cubase has given us some drums, some vinyl crackle, because we're doing lo-fi here. We also have a piano. A bass. And a nice sample chop. And not only that, we also have a nice notepad here that gives us a little bit of information on how to use the template. Let me give you a very quick walkthrough of the Cubase interface. So right here is our main section, and this is our project window. Here we will see all the parts that we're going to record, whether they're MIDI, they're drum patterns, or their audio. Under this, we have the lower zone, and right here we will find the mix console. Here's where we can change the level and the effects of each channel. We have the editor section, and this will change depending on what you have selected right here in the Cubase project window. Here I have selected an audio event, but if I select my drum pattern right here, you will see that this changes to our drum pattern. Then we have the chord pads, and I'm going to show you what these things do, the drum machine, and our modulators if you're using Cubase Pro. On the right-hand side, we have the right zone, and this is where we can see the virtual instruments that we're using. In this case, I'm using the Retrolog, and we're also using Halion Sonic. We also have the media bay. This is where we can start loading presets, loops, and sounds straight into Cubase. For example, if I go to my loops and samples here, you will see that I have a wide selection of sounds, and I can click on each one of those, and I can audition them. And then if you're using Cubase Pro, you will also find Control Room, and you will find your metering section as well. I'm going to modify the beat a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is add a few more elements. So this is a starting point, but you can make this your own. The next thing I want to do is embellish the drums by adding a top loop on top of them. So I'm going to go to my loops and samples, select the Delicatessen library. I'm going to activate link to project tempo so that all the loops are going to be synced to my tempo, and I'm going to audition it while I'm playing our project. I like this ride loop, so let's go and drop it into our project. And now that we've dropped the loop, if we want to repeat it a few times, it's very easy. Just go to the edge and move your cursor at the center of the loop, and then click and drag. And now we've repeated this loop a few times. Lastly, here we have the left zone, and this is where we can find all the information and the settings for each one of the channels that we have selected right here, like the EQ, the insert effects, the sense, and so on and so forth. Now, if you want to bring up the chord pads, you just click on this icon right here, and it's going to bring up our lower zone. We go to chord pads, and as you can see, here we have some chords preloaded. And now I can just hit these keys right here on my MIDI keyboard. And I can trigger these chords. Make sure you have at least one instrument record enabled. So for example, if I select this one and my electric piano here, I'm going to listen to both of them. And then if I want to record these chords, I can just hit record. And now we've just recorded these chords to both of these instruments. In this case, I'm going to record a part from scratch. So let's hit record. Our our piano is in. Let's record some strings from Iconica Sketch. And now I'm going to show you how you can start adding effects. For example, this string part that I just recorded, I want it to sound a little bit more lo-fi and a little bit more degraded. So what we can do is we can go here to our inserts and start adding effects. For example, I can add a vibrato, and this will make the pitch fluctuate a little bit. Next, I'm going to add another effect. This is the grungealizer, and this will give us this gritty, old-school sound. And now this is what we have. Now, if I wanted to make the drums a little bit louder, I can just go to my drums and just make them a little bit louder here. Next, I'm going to add a little sample to make things a little bit more interesting. I'm going to go to our soulful R&B library. Now I'm going to take the sample, go to the sampler control in my lower zone, and drop it in here. Now, when I do this, this immediately becomes a playable instrument. Now, what I've done to this is I added a studio delay, and I've also added some shimmer, reverb, and now this sounds like this. Next up, let's add some real bass. So I've set up an audio track and I'm going to record the bass straight to it. Bass is in, now some guitar, and for this I'm going to want to monitor through effects. So I have the VST amp rack right here, I also have a tremolo, and I have the studio delay. So I have activated all these, but in order to be able to listen to them, I have to activate the monitor button. So when I click on this, let's record. That's how easy it is to create a beat in Cubase. Now it's your turn. Have fun, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.